numismatists in the coin collecting hobby passed away. David Akers is no longer with us. David was well known for his work in gold coins, varieties of coins, his cataloging and sale of the John Jay Pittman Collection of coins, and his relationships with many of the people in the numismatic hobby. Some of the people here at the Summer Fun Convention share their thoughts and remembrances of David as a man and as a numismatist.
I've known David Akers since 1973 when I started at Paramount Coin Corporation. He is the premier numismatist. I'll always remember that if there was any pedigreed coin, he could tell you where it came from. A funny story was when I picked up an auction consignment for him for an apostrophe sale. He had no idea things I was getting. And I came back to the office and called him in Florida and said, Dave, I picked up a 1927 D20. And the first comment out of his mouth was, are you sure it's real? So after I gave him the characteristics, he was more than pleased with the consignment. As a friend, I had the pleasure and honor of working with him on the Pittman sale and actually living in a house with him 2 weeks out of the month for 4.5 years. He was a generous person, a funny person. To this day, we enjoyed talking about our Paramount days and our days of working on the Pittman collection. He was a very close friend, and I'm going to miss him a lot.
But yeah, Dave was a great guy. Not only was he a tremendous numismatist, he was one of the gentlemen of the business. He was just really a nice guy. Whenever I had a question or came up with a new idea about proofs, Dave would be one of the people I would bounce it off of, because if it was a good idea, Dave would look at you for a second and say, yeah, that's probably right. If it was a totally off-the-wall idea, he would say, no, you probably need to rethink that.
Wow, David and I go way back. When he worked for Paramount in Dayton, Ohio, I had a retail store in Dayton, Ohio. And David and I had many situations for coins. I remember one time he had a set of large cents, and I asked him what he wanted for them, and he wanted to loan them to me so I could sell them and pay him for them as I went along. And at the time, before I was standing Liberty Quarter, I collected large cents. And at a point in time, at that particular time, I had 3 complete sets of large cents. And David and I and he worked for Paramount, and he was always after consignments for the auctions, Paramount's auctions. And we just did a ton of business back and forth. We had a wonderful relationship. I knew him way back when, before the John Jay Pittman sale. And John Jay Pittman and I were good friends too, for that matter. David is has been one of my favorite people. I've done a lot of business with him, and he's a gentleman to deal with, and he's straight up, straightforward, blank, and that's it. Very little deviation, but what he tells you, you can take it to the bank every time. And it's gonna be a blow.
Mark, David Akers recently passed away, an icon in the trade. Can you share your thoughts about him as a man and as a numismatist?
He was considered, as you say, an icon in the business. He was a real scholar, and above all, I believe he was a mensch. A mensch is obviously a Yiddish word meaning he had class, he had style, he was ethical, but a wealth of knowledge, and he was willing to share that with people, which is really remarkable, because, as you know, knowledge in this industry is valuable, and he really loved coins. I didn't have a lot of interaction with him until the Pittman Collection, and we talked about several pieces together, more of the esoteric and the specialized items. It was always a pleasure knowing him and talking with him, and it's a tremendous loss for the business and the hobby. I belong to the Rare Gold Club, and he recently did a presentation, and it was remarkable listening to his stories and the anecdotes and how he just absolutely loved coins, the same kind of coins that I do. Great rarities like an 1863 gold dollar in '68 was a coin that he talked about, and we talked about an 1864 2.5. That's the finest stone, which I have in my collection. So we were both collectors, and someone like that has so many stories and so much knowledge to disseminate that it's a great loss. It was an honor to have been there to listen to him speak and talk about his stories in life.
Well, I think he was a fabulous individual who was definitely one of the icons of the rare coin industry. And we've lost another great person in our close-knit group. That's all the thing I can say.
What were the things about him that made him such a good person?
He just seemed very honest, and he just loved what he did. I mean, he was like a historian and knew everything about all the famous coins, and people looked up to him as, as like a legend, and he was.